Hi guys, my name is Katie, you're on the channel To Be Read, and today I'm here with a Top 10 Tuesday. Top 10 Tuesday is a bookish meme that was originally created by The Broke and the Bookish and is currently curated by That Artsy Reader Girl. Each week you are given a theme and you go out into the wide world of books and pick out 10 books to put in a list that go with that theme. This week the theme is the top 10 books that have sensory reading memories for you. So I've had to go back and basically review my read list, and I've picked out 10 books that when I've seen the title I've had a reaction, and you know, there's a memory there somewhere and that memory is linked to that book and it just gives you emotions and yeah. So let's get into the list and I'll try and explain how each of these books link with the theme. Hi guys, before I start I just wanted to let you know that I'm actually wearing an off-the-shoulder dress today. So there are clothes, I swear. This is not that type of video. No. This is a booktube video, people. The first book I have for this meme is Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda by Becky Albertalli. Now, honestly, every time I read this book or watch the newly finished movie that is out on DVD now, I crave an Oreo because of the reference to Oreos in the book, and I've recently reread Simon vs. the Homo Sapiens Agenda before I read Leah on the Offbeat, and I had to have a little pack of Oreos with me because that is the sense memory I have with this book. The next book is Twilight. So the story behind this book is that I purchased it when one of my friends was moving away, and I purchased it as a gift for her because she was moving out of state. And I then started to read the book and I really enjoyed it, and I had to get a second copy because my copy was no longer a gift and I had to get her a copy to gift to her so that we could read it together. And I think that book just gives me emotions that, you know, even though my friend moved away, we were still able to be close through reading, and she kept travelling back and our friendship group was still there, and we all actually really enjoyed Twilight, and we went through the whole series and the movies and everything, and it was just a big thing for us in high school. The next book I want to discuss is The Mediator by Meg Cabot. I believe it is also called Shadowland, I think. Now, the reason this book has a sense memory for me is because I read it as a teenager on a camping trip with my family, and it was the first ever time, and only so far, that I have had laryngitis. And I am quite a talker. When you get me going, I go. So not being able to say anything, I resorted to staying in the tent and reading, because when I was around my family, they all thought it was quite funny to ask me questions and to try and see me attempt to talk because I couldn't resist answering. So I tried to minimize my contact as much as possible. And I really enjoyed this book, and actually have ended up reading the whole series. But when I read the book, I flash back to that moment and I can't help but laugh because that was quite a funny time, even though I was quite distressed by it at the time. The next book I have is Carolina Moon by Nora Roberts. Now, the story behind this book and why it has a memory linked to it for me is that I originally first picked up the movie on DVD before I even knew who Nora Roberts was. So I picked up the movie at a local supermarket, and I thought it was a different movie that I'd seen and kind of liked, but it was a little bit horror-y, and I figured I was a little bit older then and I was going to pick up the movie and see if I enjoyed it more. Now, turns out it wasn't the movie, but Carolina Moon was amazing, and then I realised that it was based off of a book, and I was like, oh, really? Ooh, where is this author? Give me now. And I found the book in my bookshop, picked it up, and that started my Nora Roberts craze, which I still pick up every Nora Roberts book I can and read her new releases when they come out. But Carolina Moon was how I got into that, by mistakenly watching a movie. So yeah. Next I have The Bad Beginning by Lemony Snicket. So this was the first ever book I borrowed from my local library. My great aunt introduced me to the wonders of the library and borrowing books out and having the opportunity to read on a low budget when I was a child, and my school library just didn't cut it, especially when it was school holidays and I really wanted to read. So this book really reflects back to me the value of the library, and just, yeah, I just really appreciate that. And I read the entire series, and it's an amazing series. But this was where it started for me, and I will always appreciate the value of a library. The next book I am discussing is Outlander by Diana Gabaldon. The reason this book is on this list is because when I started watching booktube videos and started getting into this world, I could not get away from Sasha from A Book Utopia discussing Outlander. It was in practically every one of her videos. And seeing that utter devotion and dedication to a single book and a single author really inspired me, and I had to read this book, and I really did enjoy it, by the way. But seeing that started me blogging, and through the years, 2 years later, I am now on BookTube as well as my blog and Instagram and Twitter, and I am part of this world, and it is partially because of this book. The next book is The Daughter of the Pirate King by Tricia Levenseller. This book reminds me of the sea, and I always get that sense memory when I think of it, especially going on the ferry to the island that is a 30-minute ferry ride away from where I live, and just enjoying the ocean, the waves, the smell of the salt in the air. I get that sense memory every time I read this book. Next we have Slave to Sensation by Nalini Singh. Now, when I finished university and commenced my grad year, the grad position I got offered was half a year in a little rural town 2 hours away from where I live, and then the other half of the year in my town, which is a regional town. So I spent quite a lot of time on the road, because I'd go to the rural town and spend my time working there, and maybe once a month or so I'd travel back, and it was just under a 2-hour car ride. So I got into audiobooks, and I started with Slave to Sensation, so that is going to be how I remember this book, as the first ever audiobook that really got me into listening to audiobooks. The next book is Illuminae by Jay Kristoff and Amy Kaufman. This is the first book I can remember devouring in one sitting. So I had been quite nervous prior to starting this book. I went over to my cousin's house just to visit them and their family, and they ended up sitting down and watching TV, and I sat down too. And I picked up Illuminae just to see and start flipping through, and an hour or so later I was still on that couch devouring the book, and my family could not tear me away until I had finished this book. And I've read other books in one sitting since then, but this is the first one I can remember doing that with. And so I guess the sense memory with this book is that feeling of utter devotion to a book and needing to finish it right away, because you need to know how this goes and if your characters are okay, and just needing that information right now. You can't put the book down. The next book I'm going to mention is Slammed by Colleen Hoover, and honestly, I could have put any of Colleen Hoover's books in here and it would have applied. So insert any Colleen Hoover book, and yeah. But we're going to go with Slammed, because Colleen Hoover's books hit me in the feels all the time, And when I start a Colleen Hoover book, whether I've read it before or not, the minute I read that first line, the emotions come flooding back, the sense of dread and fear and love and compassion, and whoever the characters are, I need to know that they're going to be okay by the end of the book. And this author is just someone that is able to elicit that emotion out of me, and I appreciate it, and I always get that flood of emotions, and that is always a sense memory for me with this author and her books. The final book I am going to discuss is Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. Now, I have discussed this one before here, but this is the book that got me into reading for pleasure and started off this journey that I am on. And it all happened back in grade 5, and I was not a big reader back then. I liked being read to, but not having to read myself. And my teacher gave me a copy of Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, and I started reading it, and I started reading the first chapter and went, nope, no, thank you, no thank you, goodbye, see you later. But then we went and saw the movie, and I immediately, upon getting back, picked up the book, skipped the first chapter, and just took off, and you couldn't stop me. I literally had to have the book taken off me when we did any type of schoolwork, because, yeah, that was my sole being until I finished that book. And that started me on this amazing journey, and I am just so thankful to that teacher for inspiring reading within me. That is it for this week's Top 10 Tuesday from me. I would love to know what book elicits a sense memory from you, and if you would like to share, what sense memory that is. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, don't forget to click on the subscribe button and the like button if you would like. And for now, keep calm and read on. Bye!